You're watching this video because you want to develop an indie story idea or a no-budget story idea that viewers will actually watch. But let me give you a dose of reality. It's not the 90s anymore. So all those interviews that you watch with Robert Rodriguez, Christopher Nolan, Kevin Smith about how to make a no-budget feature film in 1999, it doesn't quite apply to what the landscape is of the film industry in 2025. So in this video, I'm going to give you some criteria for developing a no-budget feature film that will stand out in today's shifting entertainment landscape. My name is Jenkins. I recently shot a no-budget feature film on a cruise ship, and these videos are a way to pay it forward to the aspiring filmmakers that want to make their debut feature film. So let's get to it. So what you have to do when you're making a no-budget feature film, you have to factor in the fact that content matters more to the average person than movies do. We spend way more time on our phones and on our computers watching content than we do watching movies. And if you want to make a movie, then it has to be exceptional. It has to be more worthwhile than the brain rot slop that you can get on your Instagram Explore page or your TikTok feed. So how do you actually develop a story with these criteria? Now, the first piece of advice that you'd get from ChatGPT, if you just Googled this, is that you need to work within constraints. I think that this is a terrible thing to start with, because when you're making a no-budget feature film, you're gonna have constraints. You are gonna run into problems. And so you don't need to start your creative journey thinking about what you can't do. You need to focus on what you can do. Everything should be about how can we get it done. So the main thing that I would recommend to focus on when you're coming up with a premise, because we're only ideating right now. We're not screenwriting. We're not even developing characters yet. We're just coming up with an idea that you know that you can finish this year, okay? So the thing that I would recommend doing, because it's what I did, and I'll tell you more about my project at the end of this video, is a topic or an interest or a hobby or an obsession or a love. I would recommend starting here. You have a lot of knowledge in it, either from a professional experience or life experience, because when you're crafting the story, because of your lack of money, you have to find other ways to stand out. And the main way that you're going to stand out is to be able to explore a topic that you know everything about, all the details, all the nuances, the ins and outs, the things that the average person wouldn't even consider with regards to whatever topic that you're exploring. And so after you've found your topic, I would find the most interesting niche within that topic to explore. Because like, say, I don't know, this is a really random example, but like, say you love comics. That's a very broad topic. But what are things that are associated with comics? They could be comic books. They could be conventions. They could be cosplay. So there's all these different subtopics within this one topic, and you would define what that is. And whatever topic that you decide on, you want to find the conflict within that topic. So like, for instance, using our comic book example, if you were going to focus on specifically comic books, what would be the most conflict that you could find within the sub-niche of comic books, or the sub-niche of comic book conventions, or the sub-niche of cosplaying? You see what I mean? Because here is where you're going to start developing a story. And again, we're not getting into storytelling yet. This is going to be in the next video, and if you want to see that, then you can subscribe to the channel and follow along. But right now, we're just focusing on sub-niche and focusing on the conflicts within the sub-niche. I don't even know enough about the topic of comics to even begin to like hypothesize on what this is. You get my point. You're an adult, you're creative, you understand what I'm talking about. So the next piece of advice that you get from ChatGPT that I'd actually disagree with is that you want to make a small story. This is not the way to go. And so instead of making the smallest story that you can in the biggest way, I would recommend making the biggest story that you can with the resources that you have, okay? And so this is exactly what I did, and it served me well. So you make a big story and then use your resources that you have to make the biggest story possible. Now, here is where you're going to actually start thinking about constraints for the first time. Because if you want to make a big story, you're inevitably going to run up against something like budget, something like logistics. And so here's where you're going to want to audit all the resources that you have, whether it be the locations that you have access to or could get access to, the people that you know that could be actors or are willing to act, using the gear that you have. Again, all this is going to come later. I'm just trying to get you to start thinking about what you're going to do. Again, we're only focused on the premise here. To recap, you've got your topic, you've got your niche, you've got your problem within the niche, and then you're going to max out this problem, meaning that whatever this problem is that could be happening within this topic, you're going to go to the max in your mind and say, what is the maximum expression of this problem? And then you're going to start building a character that is the representation of what this maxed out problem looks like, okay? And then the film becomes a journey of this character experiencing the maxed out version of this problem within this world that is centered around a topic. You see what I mean? You're sort of like going deeper and deeper and deeper into the layers of it until you get this like concentrated ball of story that is something that you love and that is something that only you can tell. In this last step, I want to show you how I used the ideas that I was just previously explaining to make my debut feature film. So if you're wondering like, well, what does this actually look like in practice? I'm going to show you right now. The topic that I chose is working on cruise ships. And I did this because I've been working on cruise ships for years, almost 10 years at this point. I have an in-depth knowledge of what it's like to work on a cruise ship. I know the pros, I know the cons, I know all the little details. And when I did my last cruise ship contract in 2024, I found myself on the boat wanting to make a feature film. And because I knew everything about the world, I was like, okay, well, this is a perfect place to do it. And it was unique. Not many people have sort of seen within the world of the cruise ship, and so I wanted to explore that. And the sub-niche was cruise ship musician. I was working as a cruise ship musician and an actor, so what's a story that I could tell about a cruise ship musician? So me and my partner found a problem that cruise ship musicians or a cruise ship musician could go through, and then we said, well, what is the maximum expression of that problem that you would see like in like the climax of a story? And then we just sort of like worked backwards from there and then said, okay, well, what kind of character would experience that problem? And that was the start. That was the premise. You know, a cruise ship musician is living this kind of life, but one day this happens. Now he has to do this while facing this problem and overcome these odds in this amount of time. It's that kind of thing. You know, it's that kind of thing. So that's what we did for our film. Does this make sense? Like, I really want to know if this makes sense. I'm not engagement baiting here. Leave it in the comments because this whole whiteboard explainer thing is new. There's a lot of people out there who want to make a feature film but have never made one. And I'm here to like put the fire in you, man, and get you to make it. So let me know what you think about this stuff and what you want to see more of.